wedding planning, wedding officiating, and wedding photography. We're going to be talking about that in the show tonight. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, I'm Denise O'Malley. I am the host of your show. I want to talk a little bit about this show because tonight is our inaugural launch. This is episode 1 of Reaching I Do. Why did I call it that? As a wedding officiant, and I am the owner of Elevate Wedding Officiant, I know it's a treacherous road for a lot of couples when working hand in hand, and I'm holding the hands literally of my clients of the trials and tribulations and the stress and the anxiety. And we know that it can be a difficult road to navigate. And so what I'm doing is I'm bringing to you some of our preferred folks that we work with who are experts in their field, absolutely, to answer some questions, get to know them a little bit, and share with you some tips, tricks, and hacks to make your journey to I Do a little bit more navigatable. And tonight we're starting off with Kaitlin Shea, who is the owner of Kaitlin Shea Weddings and Events. Hi, Kaitlin. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am excited. We've worked with you before, but I'm excited. I always want to hear how somebody has started on the journey that they are on. So share with us a little bit about what it is that prompted you to go into being a wedding planner.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in undergrad for studio art and art history, but was slowly discovering that that was not the career path for me. And right around that same time, I got engaged to my now husband. We were high school sweethearts. And so even though we were young, it was not a surprise to anybody. And so that was kind of my introduction to weddings while I was still in school, and then got kind of some odd jobs from there doing flower deliveries, bridal salon work, and then worked for a planner for a little while before starting my business in 2018.
2018, that's a pretty good track record. You've been around for a while now.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for the 1 full year that I had to get my feet wet before COVID hit, because that was a lot of lessons in one. So.
Oh gosh, that would be a whole show to talk about how you pivoted during COVID. We don't have time for that tonight.
For sure.
I am curious about what is it that lights you up about doing wedding planning?
Absolutely. I would say a couple of different things. One of the more divisive areas of wedding planning is all of the emotion that goes into it. And so I feel like a lot of people that assume that it's a job that they're going to love maybe are turned off by that piece. But that's part of what I love about it is it feels like every day is something special, and I'm not going just into an office. It's a very important event for somebody. And so the emotions I absolutely love. And then the creative side I absolutely love as well, getting to design and actually set up day of, and just the combination of the back end work, and then getting to be really like in the action day of.
So as the wedding planner, really is your role to eliminate some of that stress that is on a couple.
Yes. And even if there is a stressful event happening behind the scenes, kind of continuing on with that sense of calm and just making sure that you can navigate whatever stressful event is happening without bringing other people into that stress, especially the bride and groom. So
I'm on these Facebook groups for weddings and brides and couples, and I hear a lot of people talking about wedding planners and always looking for wedding planners, and they have, from, hey, I need to hire a wedding planner. Can I do it for $250? To, oh my gosh, they're so expensive. How do you step into that role to be able to work with couples that may have this really wide budget and offer them support?
Yeah, I think right off the bat, we try to figure out what their priorities are when it comes to the budget, because we can always share industry averages and basics for each of the different pieces, but their priorities and their guest count really make a huge difference in what the actual spend is going to be. So establishing those priorities right off the bat is probably number one, so that we're not sending them things that are going to eat up the budget that they don't care about.
Right.
And then from
or that
there,
they can farm out to other people or do themselves.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so really just making sure that we understand kind of what's most important to them from the beginning, but then also being very clear about what certain things cost if their budget is not realistic.
So what does your fee normally include?
Yeah, so our base package is very similar to month of coordination. So we've kind of pared it down to what we feel are the necessities, which is final walkthrough at your venue, the timeline, floor plan, inventory list. So all of those beautiful organizational documents, vendor recommendations and contract reviews. And then we also include up to 10 check-in meetings with that package as well. And so if there are clients that come to us that have already booked the majority of their vendors and they're looking more for true day of coordination, we can get a little bit custom with them as well. But it's more like month of coordination, our base package.
Okay, you said something I want to go back to, and that is contract review. That sounds like it would be a huge thing to have somebody who has seen hundreds of these contracts being able to take a look at them.
Absolutely. And after seeing hundreds of these contracts, there are clauses every once in a while that pop up that are very obviously out of the norm. And so we can kind of call those out. But even the most simple details, we've found that, knock on wood, this doesn't happen often, but in one instance, we had a client who sent us her contracts, and the DJ, even though in the emails they had both been talking about the same date, the contract somehow ended up with the wrong wedding date on it. But the couple was more so concerned about the nitty-gritty details of the contract and completely missed over that portion. So we're just there to make sure that A, B, C, like everything is just lining up perfectly.
Yeah. Are you seeing any hot trends going on in the industry right now?
Yes, I would say over the last couple of years, we've seen people kind of moving away from some of the more traditional elements of weddings. Like we've had quite a few couples that have no wedding party, or don't do a first dance, or don't do like bouquet toss, garter toss. But even more recently, we've had couples bringing in really creative entertainment, whether that's like actual live flash tattoos happening on site, sleight of hand magicians, live painters. We've even had people create like DIY entertainment stations, whether that's a build your own flower crown or temporary tattoos, or just really fun kind of extras that they're bringing into the wedding, which has been cool to see.
You know, okay, I'm going to date myself here and by saying something that you must have one heck of a Rolodex.
We do have quite a spreadsheet of vendors for sure.
Oh my gosh, you are definitely the go-to person. I have a million questions to ask you, but we're going to run out of time. I need to get to tips, tricks, and hacks. This is where you get to share a tip, trick, or hack, or something that you really want couples to know about.
Yes, I would say one thing is a lot of couples come to us a little bit shocked with the time that goes into wedding planning, because they've seen venues that are getting booked up 2 years in advance. And a big reason for that is for the couples, so that they can be more intentional with each decision, because obviously the shorter the timeline, the quicker you have to make those decisions. And so we really encourage our couples to try and enjoy their engagement if they can. That way they can focus on maybe one vendor a month. They're not rushing through picking little decor details and making decisions that they might not love a month from now. And so, yeah, we found that a lot of couples are kind of shocked at the length of engagements, but it is very much to make sure that they can enjoy themselves and have the best day possible. And other than that, I would say just kind of being honest with yourself about like the capacity for what you can take on. We have a lot of clients that have very time-intensive jobs, and if they can recognize that in the beginning and hire the help that they need, then they can still have a very smooth and happy planning process. And so, yeah, just having that conversation with yourself and your fiance in the beginning about what's important to you and what you can handle. those are probably the two I would say.
I love it. Kaitlin, thank you very much for being with me tonight. I told you it goes by really, really fast. And it does. But thanks for being with me tonight, and love to have you back again. And we definitely look forward to working with you on any of the weddings coming up. But you are now my go-to person whose brain I'm going to be picking.
Well, thank you, Denise. It was a pleasure.
All right, thanks. All right, folks. I shared her website, and her information is going along on the bottom, and feel free to reach out to her. She has a contact list like anything. So if you're needing something for your wedding, you need to be contacting this wedding planner. Absolutely. We're going to be moving on to talking about wedding officiating, and it is my joy to actually bring up someone who has had a huge influence in my life lately. So Keppen, Laszlo, thank you, from the founder of Elevate Wedding Officiant. And I'm so glad that I met you, almost a year and a half ago?
I'm really glad I met you too.
Yeah. Well, I bet you are. I'm really curious. So actually, it wasn't the first time we met a year and a half ago. I met you 7, 8 years ago when we were both doing other things. We're both entrepreneurial spirits. And I remembered your name because it's a little bit unique, but we had never actually met in person. And then here I see that you're doing wedding officiating and running this business called the Elevate Wedding Officiant. And I'm really curious, how did you become a wedding officiant? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, huge transition. One, thanks for having me on, Denise. I love what you're doing with Elevate Wedding Officiant. This is fun. So my traditional training is in chiropractic, and I grew a brand of 10 locations of a chiropractic and massage. And as that was slowly, I've been doing that for a while. I was just managing it, and we got shut down with COVID. And so I was spinning my thumbs, for a couple months there, like, geez, what should I, my wife was like, okay, you've seen 100 movies, you've read 10 books, it's time to do something with your time. So I just asked that old question, what would you love to do? What have you been told you're good at? What would you do if you never even got paid? And I officiated for my friends about a year earlier, my dear friends. And I wrote the speech I shouldn't say speech, but the ceremony. And I'd done a lot of public speaking before, usually small business or like, corporate, sales structures, things like that. And this was different. This was two people I cared about immensely. I'm right in the middle of their palpable love, and in front of, our friends and their family. And it was truly magical. So I just thought back to that moment. And I'm like, you know what? Let's place an ad out. Let's see where this goes. And that's how I started officiating.
Well, and you built Elevate to have 7 or 8 officiants. It varies by time, and hundreds of weddings, and when COVID, well, saying COVID ended is probably not the right thing to say. Please don't attack me in the comments section, folks, on that one. But things obviously had changed coming out of it, and suddenly everybody got married. And I know you did 2 weddings shy of 400 weddings. What was it, in 2021 or 2022?
I think that was 2022. We were just at just about 400.
Yeah. So hundreds of weddings, hundreds of 5-star reviews. Can anybody be a wedding officiant?
I'm going to say anybody could be a wedding officiant as far as like getting ordained and putting their ad out there. Do I think anybody should be a wedding officiant? That's a different question. You have to be really comfortable. It's not a performance. It's you're in there and in the best, literally leading the best day of their life. It takes a tremendous amount of responsibility. You have to be incredibly organized, very, very connective, but true, you have to be like genuine. You have to be authentic. You have to know, the couple needs to know that it's not the officiant show. if it's the officiant show, that I just really think we're doing the couple a disservice. It's the couple show,
Yeah.
and you're there to highlight, the couple. So some public speakers, professional speakers would be great at it. I wouldn't say it's for everybody if it's not like, if an officiant doesn't have a true passion for love and marriage and a true passion for really just serving the couple on that day, then I would say probably avoid it. But if they did have that, then it's a wonderful, fun career. Even it could be a career.
Yeah. It is fun. One of the things that I realized as I was doing wedding, and this was a side gig for me, right? I had no intention of doing more of it, but than I was doing. But one of the things that dawned on me was when I had something go wrong in a ceremony, and my years of public speaking experience allowed me to be able to pivot really fast instead of going, oh my gosh, the groom left the rings. They're not here. I was able to handle it much better. What about you? Have you ever had anything go wrong in a ceremony?
If you think about it, I'm not kidding. I've probably done, I'd have to add them up, but at least 500 weddings. And if you think about any kind of the worst horrific thing that could happen to an officiant, it's literally happened. I've had the deal where I look at the best man for the rings, and they're coming up short, so he's running back into the Airbnb at a micro wedding to come back, and you just have to go on the fly and make stuff up. I've had to entertain the guests for 20, 30 minutes because we're waiting for grandma to get here. Those are some of the like basic things, but I would say mess ups. I have called the bride and groom the wrong name. I have mentioned the dating stage in the ceremony and used the wrong name. Those were absolutely awful. Those are some of my first ones. But I would say the worst mistake I ever made is, don't beat me up too hard, but I dropped the ring one time, and it was on a deck over a lake, and it was a beautiful ring. Thank God it landed on the deck there and did not go in. But that's the first and only time I've ever done that. But that was the worst mistake I ever made. I literally dropped the ring. And I'm not going to put any blame on how it was handed off to me. The couple's very, very nervous. It was my responsibility to grab onto that, but I dropped it. And something I'll never forget, and something I absolutely never did again.
Have you ever had a couple have their dog or cat sign the marriage certificate?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Dogs are a lot more popular, as you know,
Mhm.
but I had our first cat. I had our first cat sign the marriage license last year,
Yeah.
and we were in King Carl,
Mhm.
and they had this beautiful cat. It was just gorgeous, and it walked in the processional, and literally they took the little cat paw and signed the license.
I had that on December 31st, New Year's Eve. In fact, the photographer for that job will be our next guest that will be coming up
Nice.
here. And I never had a cat at a ceremony before. And they had a little, like, it looked like a baby carriage, but the cat was in it. And they had practice with the cat, so the cat knew what it needed to do.
I
But it's
love
kind
it.
of fun. So tips, tricks, and hacks. What idea or thought do you want to share with couples who are watching this for their wedding?
I would say number one, I know this sounds kind of cheesy, but it truly is true. My wife and I have been married for 22 years, and I can tell you, the wedding day is going to be one of the most memorable, exciting days of their entire life. Next to like having kids or having a business success. I mean, it is literally one of the best days of their life. So I would tell couples, remember that. Be present, have fun, be present with your spouse or partner, because sometimes we'll have couples that are just so incredibly nervous, they're missing the whole thing. And that is your time to engage with each other, look into each other's eyes, be present, and remember, everybody there is there for you. That's why we're there. And I would just say, remember that little thing. If Aunt Julie is fighting with your mom and the uncles aren't getting along, just push all that out. This is your day. It's
Mhm.
going to be one of the best days of your life. Be present with your spouse or partner,
Yeah.
and And I would also say on the questionnaire, when you fill out your, this is what we like, this is what we don't like, this is what we enjoy, everything that Elevate Wedding Officiant, what Denise does such an incredible job of, is gathering the information to make it so personal. I mean, I'm just going to brag on you a little bit. Having a wedding with Denise, you will feel like she's known you for 20 years. I'm not kidding.
Mm.
So take the time on that questionnaire, fill it out, make sure it's detailed, and it'll be in there. So that's my advice to couples. Remember, it's your day, be present,
yeah,
and make sure you fill out that questionnaire well.
I do have to say, though, the greatest compliment that I think that we can get as wedding officiants, and we have numerous people saying the same thing here, is when they do a review for us, they say our plus ones, who they didn't know who they were, they're just a plus one guest, came up to us afterwards and said that they felt like they'd known us for years after the ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the greatest compliment I think that we can ever get as a wedding officiant. We've done our job. Keppen, thank you very much for joining me today on this inaugural launch. It's a pleasure to know you, and you've given me an awful lot of work with taking over Elevate, but the path was set, and I really value what you have built here.
Thank you, Denise. Let's have a wonderful 2023.
All right. Thanks. Oh my gosh, that was fun. And these short conversations go by so fast. I know you have questions and we're not able to get to all the questions, and I apologize about that, but we will get to them as fast as we can. If you have questions, put them in the chat box, wherever it is that you're watching this video, and we'll try to respond to all of them there as well. So let's move over to wedding photography. So we've talked about wedding planning, we've talked about the wedding officiating, but the lasting memories, and I showed the Elevate website here a moment ago, and it's filled with pictures. Those are the lasting memories, and they matter so much. And finding the right wedding photographer is very, very important. And I want to bring up to the stage now Jessica Noelke. And Jessica, thank you very much for joining me today.
Of course, thank you so much.
So you're with Blush and Bee Photography, and I'm going to brag on you for just a minute. So folks, if you go over to the Elevate Wedding Officiant site and go to view our team, you will see my professional photo. And Jessie took it. It was a whim. We were not on a photo shoot for me, but we were killing some time before the ceremony started. And you just said, headshot opportunity, click.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being the best picture. But I've seen your other work too. And I saw the work from the wedding on New Year's Eve that you did. Amazing, amazing work. You put so much heart into the pictures.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really fun. I don't know if you saw that at the end, I also included an Instagram reel for them to download and post. But I posted that to my Instagram, so you saw that as well. So a lot of my clients will get a little.
I think it did. Yeah.
I make a reel for them of their wedding too.
You go above and beyond, I think, for your couples.
Yeah, I try hard. It's a hard day. It's a special day, and I want to make sure that they leave looking at these photos for the rest of their lives. And it's a legacy. It's what they show their kids. It's something that people take into their kids are going to show their kids, So I always am thinking about that when I'm shooting somebody's wedding, like what's going to be that picture they're going to look at and think, that's my husband looking at me on my wedding day, and a lot of times it's a way their husband is looking at them in a way that they can't really see because of their perspective. So I'm always kind of looking for those moments when they're maybe looking down at their vows and their partner is looking at them like, oh my God, I get to marry this person. So, yeah.
Amazing. How did you get into wedding photography?
I was told, do what you're jealous of. Like, when you're on Instagram and you're like, I'm really jealous of X, Y, Z. I've always been jealous of wedding photographers. And so after getting a master's degree in environmental management, I started shooting to make money on the side, and then just ended up doing it for a career. So I've been doing it since 2018.
Oh, you as well. We picked 2018, I guess. That's amazing. So you had said something to me when we did this elopement together on New Year's Eve, that how you prep the couple before the shoot. And I don't remember exactly what it was that you said, but stayed with me. When you're working with a couple, what are you expressing to them ahead of time? Because I'm sure they're a little bit nervous because they want the pictures that they want, but they're also going to have a camera in their face all day.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I said. A lot of times when I'm prepping a couple, so I have a questionnaire whenever people hire me. They get a questionnaire. We get to know each other. We always do a free engagement session.
Wow.
And stuff like that, just so we can kind of get to know each other. But when I'm coming with Elevate, we haven't had that. So I do know that I'm a stranger to this person. So I make sure to introduce myself. I'm looking at what they're doing to find some way to find a relation in a way, like, oh, I have a black lab, you have a black lab, if they brought their dog with them, or I'm trying to find a way to relate to kind of bring that up, that familiarity up, because that's what they kind of are looking for. And then I try to get them moving. So to get the wiggles out, to get our anxiety out, we have to move. And so we'll dance, we'll run around, we'll try to get moving more than just standing still. And then I'll do the standstill photos. So
yeah. What is it that no, I'm going to change my question midstream. There can be hiccups. You're doing mostly outdoor stuff. What kind of hiccups or problems have you encountered, and how did you work around those?
Yeah, it's always changing with weather. If it's windy, we're going to have to put people in a different direction, to make sure their hair is looking good. We'll wait for the wind to kind of die down. Another one would be if it's muddy, I'm having to keep that dress clean. And so I always arrive a little early to kind of look for those obstacles so that I can figure out how to avoid them. Or maybe we have to leave. Maybe we do the ceremony at that location, but maybe we leave and go somewhere else for the photos. So I can get those movement pictures. I had a client who was afraid of heights, and I had them up at Las Gulch Lookout. And so, we're working together to see where their limits are. And I'm like, if there's ever a moment in time you're uncomfortable with what I'm asking you to do, just say, no, I'm not doing this. And I say, fine, we'll do something else. And it's never a big deal. So yeah, just trying to make a comfortable environment, because having your photo taken is really stressful. It's stressful for me. And so knowing that, I bring that into my client sessions.
Yeah. So is it true that photographers know all the secret locations to go get married?
It's a part of our homework in our secret society to find 12 really great locations for you and to have that in our back pocket at all times. We don't like giving those out. People will ask me for them before they hire me, and I'm like, that's neat. You get to know that once I get a deposit. So, or we'll talk on the phone about it. But yeah, we go hiking, we drive around, we're constantly looking for locations to take good pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a situation going on right now where Sapphire Point Overlook up at Lake Dillon is closed, not accepting reservations because of redoing the trails and the parking lot and things like that. And I've seen posts and blog posts about, we have a bunch of alternative secret locations once you've purchased something from us. I get it. I understand it. Either buy our list or become a client of ours. So, okay, you don't have to disclose the information, but do you have some alternatives to that wonderful spot that is not available?
I'll be honest, I love Sapphire Point, but I don't love how public it is. And so I really love Clinton Gulch Dam. I think that has to be, and you'll see that on my website. When you showed my website, it was on there, but that's probably my most favorite location in Colorado for photography, because it's so accessible. There's a parking lot. There's no bathroom, which I always look for when I'm looking for locations, like, how far away is the bathroom? And that's the only thing about that one. But otherwise, it's great. That's a great one.
Good to know. I've got a micro wedding there this weekend, so I'll be
show up early because they might be plowing snow into that parking lot. Just
good to know. See, there's a tip. But let's go on to the real tips, tricks, or hacks. What do you want to share?
I think when people are looking for photography, they want to get a budget photographer, and they think, oh, my cousin can shoot photography. They're going to shoot my wedding. But I think what people are forgetting is that a wedding is a totally different thing than family photos. It's knowing when that first kiss is going to happen, because if you miss that, that's kind of the whole point, right? And So I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've been through all of that, and I know exactly what's going to happen when. I know when the officiant is going to say, okay, now you may kiss your bride. I know where I need to be when that happens. And so hiring a photographer, when you get that amateur photographer, they're not going to know all that stuff. And I'm timing everything. I've got my schedule. I've got everything down. I know exactly, when grandpa's going to hug you, I'm right there ready to go. So I discourage people from hiring their cousin to do their wedding. Get a professional. These are going to be the memories you're going to have for the next 80 years or more. They're the memories your family's going to have. So, so choose the right one, and, really, really research and make sure that person has the style you like, because every photographer is different. So I'm very natural. I edit very natural to what you look like, but it's what you want. Get what you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And ask your other vendors for recommendations of photographers that they have worked with.
Because there's a professionalism that comes with photography you really need to have. I had a bride who her dad was talking the entire time, and I'd be like, look, sir, we've got to get pictures done. The sooner we do this, the sooner you can go party. And she really appreciated me for taking control of that situation. And an amateur is not going to be able to do that. So it's really just having that professional atmosphere at your wedding, so you can get married and not have to worry about anything.
Jessie, thank you very much for being on this show tonight. Great information. I could talk to you for a very long time.
Me too.
I know, we will.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Great information. I hope you guys have found value in this. This show airs every Tuesday night live on YouTube. We invite you to join us. And if you can't catch us live, where we can be answering questions for you live, we can absolutely answer questions in the comments, but watch all of our recordings. We're here for you. We want to support you in this journey to reaching I do, and help you navigate the confusing world of getting married. We are here to support you. With that being said, everyone, thank you very much for joining us. Stay tuned for the exit, and you won't want to miss the guy at the end. Bye now.